Don't get complacent. The World Health Organization warns the coronavirus is still circulating in Europe, even as the number of cases falls. While in the United States, cases are spiking in places like Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Climate change activists stage a protest on the tarmac at Orly Airport, Paris's second largest hub, forced to evacuate briefly as it opens for the first time in 3 months. And the 30-year wait is over. All-night celebrations in the city of Liverpool as the English football club finally clinches the Premier League title. Those are the international headlines this hour. You're watching France 24. Now, the World Health Organization says the global coronavirus pandemic is getting worse, with the number of confirmed cases around the world now close to 10 million. Experts are warning against complacency in Europe, where the easing of lockdowns coincides with warmer weather. In the UK this weekend, thousands of people headed to crowded beaches. Meanwhile, over in the United States, several states, mainly in the south, have reported a record number of infections. An estimated 20 million people either have or have had the disease there. Our international affairs editor, Douglas Herbert, is here with more on that now. And Douglas, there has been a big spike, hasn't there, in places like Florida, Arizona, Texas, just to name a few.
Look, I'm not going to use the words out of control, but it is headed that way. As we know, the U.S. had a very disjointed, to say the least, policy when it comes to state by state how they approach this virus. And you'll remember the early epicenters were really in New York City, in that whole region, the Northeast region. Now they've really switched, and the places that we are seeing these spikes that you just spoke of, and they are spikes. We saw more than 41,000 cases, new infections reported on Thursday this week, which is really a record daily total. So this is going up and up. And the places we are seeing these new infections tend to be, like you said, southern and western states, but places that are really far removed from the epicenters of the early outbreaks in the U.S. We're seeing states Texas, Florida, California, but also Nevada, Arizona. All of these states have seen real spikes in recent days. And some states, which we haven't been talking as much about, Alabama, Alaska, Montana, Utah, they've seen some of their largest daily totals ever since this thing broke out in recent days. So up and up, more than 30 states, about 30 states roughly, have seen an increase in cases. So it's more than half of the states in America right now on the rise as opposed to on the wane when it comes to this. Meanwhile, you have the CDC basically telling people that the number of estimated infections in the U.S. could be as much as 10 times higher than the official tally. What's the official tally? 2.3 million. You could do the math better than I can, probably. I failed math in high school. But that's about 20 to 30 million infections we're talking about in America, which is really no laughing matter. And like I said, still no uniform policy from state to state. The Texas governor, as we've reported, has paused reopenings in that state. Florida right now is also putting the brakes on a very quick reopening. Disneyland, California is not going to be reopening in mid-July as it had planned to. So we're slowing down, slamming onto the brakes, but still a virus not under control, far from it in the United States.
All right, let's talk about Europe then, because life here is slowly returning to normal, isn't it? As we just saw people headed to the beach in droves this weekend. Yeah. But the WHO says, don't be complacent. It is still circulating. Are we talking about the virus coming back? Is there a resurgence in cases?
Yeah, it's not us talking about it. It's scientists, it's epidemiologists. Basically, what they are saying, and some countries already dealing with second waves and trying to prevent third and fourth waves from coming on. Yes, the virus is very much here, as Emmanuel Macron said in one of his speeches a couple of months back when he was announcing lockdowns. This is a virus that is here to stay that we are going to have to learn to live with, and we are seeing that right now in grim statistics on the ground, the hard realities. In countries, we heard the WHO basically talk about 30 countries in its region, which isn't just Europe, it's also the Middle East and Central Asia, have seen increases in cases in the past couple of weeks. And 11 of those countries, including Sweden, it's not just countries in Eastern Europe, it's not just countries in Central Asia or in the Balkans, which also are included. 11 of those countries have seen significant accelerated transmission, as the WHO calls it. Why is that important? Because accelerated transmission could lead to a very significant resurgence of cases, bringing hospital systems systems to the brink of collapse in these countries. We're talking the European region. Here and now, this is going on. Some countries do have targeted approaches. I'll just note Germany. It has seen new outbreaks. We've reported in recent days in 2 regions, a lot in one case tied to a meat slaughterhouse. It is pinpointing, trying to contain those areas rather than doing what people did in the past. A lot of countries shut down the whole country, the whole economy, try to target the approach. Will it work? Watch this space, wait and see. But a lot are warning, if we're not careful, of a new outbreak come fall or winter.
All right, worrying stuff. Doug, thank you very much indeed. Douglas Herbert there. Well, it was a bit of a bumpy start for Paris's second largest airport today as it opened for business for the first time in 3 months. Several thousand passengers are expected this Friday. That is a fraction of the usual number of travellers seen before the coronavirus outbreak. But after just a few hours, the airport had to be evacuated because of a protest by climate change activists. Well, France 24's Nadia Massi is down at Orly Airport for us now. And Nadia, tell us what happened this morning.
Yes, Laura, as you say, this was certainly not the morning that Orly Airport staff were hoping for. This was supposed to be a smooth day after a 3-month closure where airport staff could show people that Orly was safe to open for business. But instead, we had environmental activists from that group Extinction Rebellion storming one of the runways here, preventing flights taking off for around half an hour or so. We just got a statement from the communications team here at Orly saying that they were able to get their other runway up and going relatively quickly, that flights weren't disrupted for that long. But around the same time, we also had a suspicious package found where I am here in departures, meaning that everybody here had to be evacuated as well. And I suppose kind of both of those two events really highlighting just the sense of anxiety that people are experiencing here. Clearly, this is not a normal time to be flying. Everybody has to wear masks, for one thing. There are many more cleaners around than there normally are, cleaning some of the screens that people use to check in with, some of the touch screens here to try and reassure people that they're safe to travel. But of course, that really remains an open question. Given the fact that when you're in a cabin, you're in a confined space for an hour or indeed a couple of hours. But many of the people that I've been speaking to here saying they are excited to be travelling again, many of them going on holiday for a bit of a summer break, although they are concerned about some of those safety restrictions.
And of course, Nadia, from a business point of view, this is the time when the airlines are really desperate to recoup some of the losses that they've posted over the last 3 months. Are they confident about that?
Lots of concern, I think, Laura, about what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. In fact, really, nobody knows what the aviation sector is going to look like in 6 months' time. Will passengers feel safe enough to travel again? Will borders fully reopen around the world? Or will there be a second wave of infection and another mass lockdown? Now, as you said, here at Orly, a very reduced service is being run at the moment. Only around 70 flights are taking off today compared to about 800 normally. So 90% of its service is cut, and there is real concern. Now, a bit earlier on, I spoke to the CEO of Orly Airport, and I asked him how long he thought it would be until normal service resumes. Here's what he told me.
If we are optimistic, maybe in 2 or 3 years. If we are pessimistic, maybe in 5 to 6 years. This is actually, or maybe more, some people are talking about 2028.
Pretty pessimistic
well,
outlook there,
perhaps not until 2028. Yeah, very pessimistic outlook indeed, Laura. Lots of concern and clearly a very turbulent couple of months and perhaps even years for the airline industry.
All right, Nadia, thank you very much indeed. Nadia Massi there down at Orly Airport, which has just opened for the first time in 3 months. Well, moving now to the United States, where the Democrat-controlled House of Representatives has passed a major police reform bill. It's called the George Floyd Law and was passed a month to the day after he died at the hands of police in Minneapolis. But as Alison Sargent reports, the bill is likely to be blocked by the Republican-controlled Senate.
Black Lives Matter! Calls from the street that have made it to the floor of the House of Representatives, where all Democrats and 3 Republicans voted to pass a major overhaul of American police.
The Justice and Policing Act establishes a bold, transformative vision of policing in America Never again should the world be subjected to witnessing what we saw in the streets in Minneapolis.
The bill would take away some legal protections for police officers. It also includes restrictions on chokeholds and the creation of a national database for incidents involving use of force. Some of those measures were also in a Republican version of the bill that was blocked by Senate Democrats, who said it didn't go far enough. The Republican-controlled Senate is all but certain to block the Democratic bill for being too extreme.
This Congress started off with Democrats saying abolish ICE. Then it moved to, no, let's get rid of the whole Department of Homeland Security. And now we have Democrats in big cities around our country saying defund the police, get rid of police departments. It makes no sense.
Despite the stalemate in Washington, changes are underway in major Democratic cities like New York, where the mayor has pledged to cut police department funding.
We see the harm being done to our communities via the instrument of the police, and we want to end that harm in ways that will increase healing in our communities.
The City Council of Minneapolis, where George Floyd was killed, has vowed to dismantle their police force entirely. And in Oakland, California, officials voted to eliminate its school district police force and redirect funds to student services.
After a 30-year wait, the English football club Liverpool has finally clinched the Premier League title. The Reds got off to a record-breaking start this season, but were forced to put everything on hold because of the coronavirus lockdowns. Alexander Orcott brings us some reaction from the city that's been partying non-stop since Sunday.
For the supporters at Anfield Stadium, this moment has been a long time coming. In the end, it wasn't a match victory for Liverpool, but a loss for their nearest rivals, Man City, that handed them the title. But after such a long wait, further dragged out by the coronavirus crisis, that has done nothing to dull the celebrations.
30 years and that's it, we've got it now, haven't we? Brilliant, mate.
God, I can't even say how I feel. Amazing, amazing, amazing!
Amazing, on top of the world, fella.
The club already had 18 titles in the English top division throughout its history, but it's taken Jurgen Klopp to restore the side to its early 80s heyday. The German coach already took Liverpool to Champions League victory last year, but this is the title the fans were really after.
Over the moon, Jurgen Klopp, thank you very much, lads. Get in there!
Liverpool's broken several records on its way to claiming the title, including the earliest champions in Premiership history, securing 28 wins from 31 matches. The fans will be hoping to round things off with a win over Man City next week, a side that's claimed the title for the past 2 seasons.
Well, that's it from the newsroom this hour. Stay with us. This is France 24.